legacy that's long. That's the legend of the Armstrong.
Welcome in once again, all my friends. It's the Road Dogg and Cassio, and this is another episode of...
Oh, you didn't know?
Yeah, what is up, buddy?
Every time I say that, I get 7 cents. No, I don't. but
Say
I
it
do.
again.
Yeah, I will, but I'm not now. I will close out the show. We'll bookend the show with them. Man, thank you for the introduction. How you been?
Good, man. How are you? You sound busy from behind the scenes with me and you talking.
Yeah. So I am busy as a beaver. The new gig is really cool, and like the energy in the place is really awesome also. And so just really happy to be back there. It feels kind of like home to me, and happy to be back here with you because it's like my second home.
Yeah, I like it. I'm the side chick. I like it.
Yeah. Because I ain't taking you to meet my parents, but I will. Never mind.
Let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
This is going to be a fun topic. The topic we're going to be discussing is what was going on in Dogg's career 15 years ago in TNA. That's 2007 for you people that don't have a calculator.
15 years ago.
What was the Dogg like in 07?
He wasn't sober. Tell you that much. He was
not even
sober.
Close.
Not even close. Reaching very closely to the breaking point though. Because just about 3 years later is when I decided to change the way I lived. And look, some of the stuff we're going to talk about today is some of the stuff that helped me get to my bottom.
It's always about getting to the bottom.
Yeah, well, we can laugh about it, or you can cry about it, and I'm gonna laugh. Let's get into it. Some TNA.
Let's do it together. You and Katz, our buddy Ryan Katz, started this story at the end of your VKM episode, which was so good. If you have not seen that and you're just watching this one or listening to this one, go back, check it out. Sets up this episode perfect. So please check that out in the Oh You Didn't Know archives. With Sean and Hunter not showing up at the Alamo and Hunter blowing out his knee in the WWE, that was really the end of going after DX. So the transition goes something like this. At Final Resolution, this is January 14th of 07. This is from your favorite publication, The Observer.
Well, look, they are my favorite.
There you go.
I'm just not theirs.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I was just kidding. They're not my favorite either.
Here's what they say. VKM was out. They declared victory in their war with DX. BG did tell Paul that he hopes he makes a speedy recovery because he does not like to see anyone go down. Last week, they wanted to beat his ass, but they noted Michael Hickenbottom never showed up at the Alamo. The crowd was bored throughout this part. They did get the crowd into it when they talked about the crowd in St. Louis chanting TNA during the Trump-Rosie deal. BG complained about John Cena being told by Vince McMahon to do a job for Kevin Federline. He said Vince McMahon insults the intelligence of fans every week. Out of all this, Christy Hemme showed up for what would have been the worst segment of 2007 if that Donald Rosie thing hadn't happened. This is great. They're buttering you up right here.
They really are. They really are.
She started talking about how these guys, Hunter and Sean, if she can say it, why can't anyone else, argue about who is the foundation of DX. But what about Joni Laurer? What about China? A collective groan hit the audience. Hemme's acting in this segment will go into the video dictionary next to the term ungodly bad.
We found somebody they don't like more than me.
You went up actually on the totem pole.
My stock just rose.
They wrap up in the Observer by saying, "We want wrestling," screamed the audience. Finally, they figured out how to just be as bad as the worst segment on Raw. And what about Lita? She was run off. Are women in wrestling disposable? She wanted to have a chance to wrestle. BG was sympathetic to her and said that they all love the business. But then Kip turned male chauvinist and called her a slut and to go back to the strip club she got fired from.
He way he did that on TV. He's a gentleman.
He said women were good for only two things. He didn't say what they were. And Hemme slapped him in the face. BG had to tackle Kip. to keep him from going after. This is a lot.
That
to
is a lot. Hey,
digest.
that is a lot to unpack there.
What a transition this is. It smells like Vince Russo.
Yeah. It feels a little like Vince Russo because it was probably Vince Russo. But look, I would argue this 15 years ago, and so maybe the women's wrestling thing was starting to catch on, or maybe it was ahead of the game. I can't tell you what the thinking behind it was, because I really was not not only not in the inner circle creatively, but I also did not care one bit at this point. And at this point, I didn't care what we did. I would just go out there and do it and try to do it to the best of my ability. But I was way done trying to get over and be over, because I felt bad, because look, VKM wasn't going to work from the get-go. And I think we tried to make it, you know what I mean? We tried something that was not successful, but we tried to get lightning in a bottle a second time. And that's just not the way of the world. You know, that's not the way it works. And so VKM was like, when Billy came, like, it really was bad for both of us. I feel like he had a little bit better of a singles run as a heel. And then he was with, the Beautiful People. And so he had a little life there, but I had one before he got there. I think when he got there, it kind of screwed us both up a little bit. And we were both screwed up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, you hear, I don't know the question. I just was distracted by the, anyway, I'm not sure who bit who, but I heard in the Trump thing, there was somebody bit somebody. Anyway, yeah, VKM was not going to be successful. So we just did what we could do with it. And we're going to talk more about this in this episode. But again, dark times for the DO double.
I wouldn't say that you thought this was the next step for VKM, but maybe that goes back to you going, I wasn't really caring at this time.
Yeah. And you don't know what the next step is, because look, they weren't going to respond, and they being Hunter and Sean and WWE, they weren't going to respond. So we were in a fruitless battle, you know what I mean? And we knew the payoff. We weren't going to get one. And so it was like, it was failed from the beginning. Like, our first big angle was with an unattainable tag team. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. It let us vent some frustrations. It let Russo vent some frustrations, like, whatever. VKM, we got it out of our systems. Okay, now what are we going to do? And this is the way we went. You know what I mean? And I look, I'm just a gentleman. Billy's a chauvinist pig, and I'm a gentleman, and I can't say it in any plainer English, English than that.
All right,
and I know Billy doesn't listen to the podcast, so I'm fine saying that.
Did he listen to the episode he was on?
He did.
Okay.
And he
we got one extra listener.
Continuously tells me it was the best episode we've ever done. So congratulations, Billy. Thank you.
You did get to work a house show with Bobby Roode, and you got the win. This becomes important later on in our story.
That was an accident. I tripped over something and landed on top of it, and he couldn't kick out.
Well, let's talk about Roode and how he was, and how good he was at such a young age.
Yeah, he was great. He was great then, and he was young then. You know what I mean? Like, he was still in great shape, and all that whole Team Canada, if you remember from TNA, look, one of them runs Impact now. The other one is wrestling at Impact now and Independence. And then Bobby, I think, is still contracted with the WWE. And so all those guys have risen to the top. So Bobby was the cream of that crop, and that crop there were really good workers. Like, there was some really good workers on that Team Canada.
On the next Impact on January 24th, the Observer says BG James did apologize for what Kip was saying in the Christy Hemme angle.
Yep.
See, you're such a gentleman.
I know.
You know what BG stands for? Big gentleman.
Yep. Big gentleman. And it also means big gentleman, like big, like lose a few LBSs, bro.
BG said he agreed with Hemme, and Kip was in the background with duct tape over his mouth. Kip then took the tape off and put it in BG's mouth and said wrestling was a man's world. And it always was.
Well.
And always would be until there was no more wrestling. A few more angles like this one, and that day wouldn't be far off. BG walked out on Kip.
See?
Was there talk of you guys breaking up?
I wasn't going to put up with that kind of chauvinism.
You were done.
Look, if I'm
I'm
an advocate. I'm a women's advocate in this angle and in real life. I have daughters. And when Billy Gunn, Kip James, whatever his name was, starts running his pie hole, degrading women, I got to take a stand. I don't think we split up or anything. I just walked out of the room. And really they weren't supposed to shoot that prior to us doing the taping of each other's mouths because things were going on that weren't supposed to be on camera there. But but no, I'm just kidding.
That was my next follow-up.
Yeah, what
was happening?
I just wanted you to think of Big Zed.
I started taking notes. Duct tape off air.
Yep, ball gag.
What
got it?
Do you remember Billy talking about this? Was he opposed to it? Was this just we all rolling with the punches at this point?
Hey, we were both on a lot of drugs. And again, this was for both of us, this was just, you know, sometimes it takes people a week to hit a bottom, and sometimes it takes people a decade to hit a bottom. And it took us a while, but we were both heading downward spiral as far as our addictions go during this time. So look, I can't imagine him, you know, being the the voice of reason and going, I don't feel like I should denigrate women just because we were both out of our ever-loving minds, you know.
You've said before at that time you were just getting a check so you could pay for drugs, pay your mortgage, and that's it. Move on.
That's it. I had to support my drug habit, so I wrestled on television. You know what I mean? And that's just the truth. It's sad. It's a pathetic existence, but that was my existence for a period of time, and I can't go back and change it, or I would, and I can't beat myself up over it because it will do me no good. And that rhymed, and I do it all the time, and Sprite, Slim, and Lime. I mean, I don't know.
I'll pay you a dime for that. Were you guys supposed
only
to be
a dime?
Heels? Yeah, just a dime. Well, it's the only thing that rhymed.
That'd be a crime.
We were out of time.
Wow. Congrats. You know what?
We freestyled that, didn't we?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. We are wide as. Never mind.
We are wide as were you guys supposed to be heels, baby faces, threaded shades of gray?
That's what. Yeah, I think it was worse than Shades of Gray in this specific angle because we were split. We weren't a unified front. You know what I mean? Like he was saying things that I disagreed with, and he disagreed with what I was saying. You know what I mean? Like so it was worse than being Shades of Gray. We were literally ripping ourselves apart at the seams. And so, look, I can imagine this was a part of where we started talking about, okay, how do we, putting them together didn't work. And it's not going to work. You know what I mean? And so how do we salvage whatever we can do? And I can imagine them starting to have the conversation of let's think about using these guys as singles and, you know, maybe using Road Dogg as an agent, maybe using Billy as a heel, you know, or whatever. So I can imagine the conversations have been started. Also, they've probably been like, yeah, he's fat and on drugs all the time. And I, you know, again, that's just the way it was, and not proud of it. But I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
Don't you do it this time? Not so early.
Don't you do it?
Let's wait till like the halfway point.
Okay. Blue Chew commercial, maybe.
No, first, science tells us the best way to achieve and maintain consistent deep sleep is by lowering core body temperature.
I know what we're talking
Temperature-controlled
about.
sleep repairs muscle after a hard day's work and improves cognitive function, so you always start your day feeling sharp and alert. Sleep Me is the new home for ChilliSleep. Guess what? They're bringing you the same great sleep that ChilliSleep offered, but under a new name. Road Dogg, you know about changing names.
Oh yeah, because look, sometimes you got to change your name.
Sometimes you were so cold you just had
No,
to
I
change
meant
your
for
name.
like I was for like legal reasons.
Oh
I
yeah,
had
yeah.
to- yeah.
Right. So
I
nobody
never,
can search
I can
for
never
warrants.
go back to the UK. Anyway,
It's called an alias in your case. This way, in this case, Sleep Me makes the coldest and most comfortable sleep systems available. They create the environment that meets the body's natural need for lower core temperatures, promoting deeper restorative sleep. ChilliSleep makes the Uller, Cube, and Dock Pro sleep systems, water-based temperature-controlled mattress toppers that fit over your existing mattress to provide your ideal sleep temperature. Do you have one of these?
Chili Bee. Yes, I have the well, I
Oh
can't
man,
pronounce it, but yeah, it's like sleeping on a really cold little baby water bed.
what
But
do you
it
set
but
yours on?
but it don't go like this. It's like almost just like fingers of water running down the small of your back.
Well, that sounds fun.
I know it sounds like, and if you close your eyes, it feels like a scene out of Legends of the Fall, where Brad Pitt, his hair's long and he's riding a horse. And I'm sorry, what were we talking about again? Trump and
Fingers
Rosie.
of water.
Yes, fingers of water.
Chilly sleep. I'm gonna
chill
tell you.
me, chill me.
What degrees do you keep yours on? I'm at 66.
Yeah,
big
so
dog.
65 is
So,
what
yeah,
I go to. Yeah,
let's get
65.
that deep into the 60s, buddy.
Because look, I'm all over that bed like a cup of soup poured in there, and and so I need to get it cold and I need to get it on me.
If before Chilly Sleep, I was waking up looking like a rotisserie chicken. I was crispy around the edges. There was no pink anywhere in me. I was cooked all the way through and dry side. Look, they also just launched the new Dock Pro sleep system. It has 2 times more cold power than other models. It's whisper quiet and has a tubeless mattress pad design that allows for 5 times more cooling contact.
Holy mackerel! Yeah, I don't have that one. Hey, because truth be told, the this new one is silent, but the other one makes a little humming noise that kind of helps me sleep. So
I put mine on the
I like
boost,
that.
so it's white noise. I do.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, here's how you can grab it. Look, I enjoy it. Road Dogg loves it. You can enjoy it as well. Head over to sleepme/DOGG. That's sleep.me/DOGG to learn more and save 25% off the purchase of any new Dock Pro, Cube, or Uller sleep system. This offer is available exclusively for Oh You Didn't Know listeners and only for a limited time. That's sleep, SLEEP .me, ME/DOGG. You can take advantage of their exclusive discounts and wake up refreshed every day.
Every day.
All right.
Unless you don't want to. Hey,
yeah,
we're just trying to help you. Whatever.
If you still want to wake up and sleep on a hot bed of coals, that's fine. You do that.
You need a shower because you sweated through all your sheets, you skanks. Sorry, I took it too far as usual.
It's been a while since I heard somebody get called a skank.
And I didn't even really call any specific person that.
No,
it was like I glossed over. I glossed over a gaggle of us, didn't I?
All right. All a bunch of. We asked last time what the listeners should be called. We said maybe the dog pound. We got a couple of them, but
oh yeah,
should we just go skanks and be done?
Man, it feels kind of right.
I mean, who on his shirt that says I'm a skank?
Yeah, I do. I want that shirt.
Tank top, please, for me.
That's a great idea, but let's sit on that for a second. Okay. Skank you very much. There's some, you know what I mean? We could go.
We'll wait till November and have Skanksgiving.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It's fluent. It actually and fluid too. It goes into different seasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, that might be the one. We'll come back to that.
That was it. Yeah, we lost Chilly Sleep on that one, I believe.
Yeah, chill me. No.
We called them skanks. But they are. If you don't like cool sleep, you're a skank.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
come
that's
on.
a fact.
You just yeah. If you're overweight like me and you sleep hot and you don't get a chilly sleep, skank. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
If you're overweight and sleep hot, you're
Okay, yeah, I didn't mean it personally. I don't want everybody to get hot at me. I'm in that category too.
I can't.
Skanks giving was a really good one.
I
Skank.
was gonna read the Observer here, but I can't. I got tears in my eyes.
Well, you know, I guarantee.
Here we go.
You want me to tell you what they say? BG sucks, and all of his segments are the worst ever, and he sucks.
Such a skank.
And you look like there. Okay, thank you, Observer, for your take.
All right, here we go. Let's go. Thank you. All right, you're both getting heat with management apparently for media interviews, just like we'll get heat for that last segment.
Yeah.
Kip James did an interview that will make him friends with the management. He said, if you've seen one X Division match, you've seen them all. Kip did put over LAX. He said TNA gives the fans too much in an hour and doesn't leave them wanting more. He said they are wasting Bobby Roode and that Roode is going to be a huge star, but it won't be in TNA because they don't know how to push him. Woo.
Oh, Billy.
Kip then joked he'd probably wind up fired from TNA after this interview. He said he'd leave TNA in a heartbeat if WWE made him a good offer. He said he left WWE on good terms and was just a victim of WWE trying to refresh the locker room. He did follow up and say women have no place in wrestling. That's his current gimmick. But then put over Miss Texas and Luna as being the only women who can wrestle. It must be fun to still be living in 1999, says the Observer in 07. He said he didn't like Lita. He said having the ugly ass girls of TNA in a women's division would be a big waste of TNA's already limited TV time. And he said getting Angle was a good thing regarding Angle versus Christian. He said he really doesn't want to see it, and then he'll probably drive home before the match starts. Then he said he didn't remember when the next pay-per-view is. Holy crap.
Well, we damn sure wasn't on it.
No, we weren't on it.
I'll tell you what, man, that's funny. And the truth of it is like there's no context, but even the stuff that he says is like, I don't know if he was kind of carrying on with the gimmick.
Right.
But
what I was going to ask.
like
is this
everybody,
tongue-in-cheek or serious?
Well, so I think it's a bit of both, to tell you the truth, because I think he buried the company a little bit for a shoot. I think, look, everybody that comes anywhere from WWE is spoiled, and you know what I mean. It's just not the same, and we were making a lot less money than we were made. So for him to say he would leave, like that's just a business decision when it comes down to feeding your family. You know what I mean? So of course you would have left if they would have offered you your job back and you get 10 times what you're making a year. Of course you'd go back. So look, I think some of it though, when he got really sexist, I think he was working, because I know for a fact that he's helped train many of the women at NXT that are huge stars now. And so I know for a fact he doesn't feel that way. So I'm thinking he was doing his shtick there, you know?
Just a little bit of both. Are you guys frustrated, or maybe just frustrated with life in general? Not so much TNA.
Yeah. I do think that's what it is. You know, look, Billy was released. I got fired, so any gig I got was going to be a good for me in the short term. So he might have been frustrated, and I probably was too. But your first point about were we frustrated with life, I'd say that's the bigger picture answer. Is yeah, we were both lost, and spoiled and not humble. And you know what I mean? Just everything that is negative is where we were at. And that's where our headspace was. And so, yeah, I can imagine us saying things that were, that we shouldn't have said out loud. You know what I mean? and we did, of course. You're probably going to read something that I said here, coming up shortly.
All right. So TNA, this is from the Observer as well. TNA management was upset with Kip James, as you can figure, due to his comments that were in last week's issue. BG James was more political this week, noting that he's got a beat up car and he's late on his house payment. So if he got a WWE offer, he'd be interested. He did note that he had a few years left on his contract, but said he thought there was always a way out of wrestling contracts. Actually, WWE is pretty leery about taking people under contract because they don't want to open themselves up to legal action from a smaller company. BG James did a radio interview on Voice of Wrestling and said he thought the anti-WWE stuff was done to stir controversy and draw ratings. He said he never expected WWE to respond at the risk of sounding anti-TNA, which I definitely am not. The first place team ain't going to look back at the second place team. They're going to keep on rolling, BG said. He said that while they never responded on television, they did through legal letters. He said this would be a good time to return to WWE, but he doesn't see it happening because he's got 2 years left on his contract. He did say a good lawyer could get him out of it. No problem. He said it's all about money, but that Jeff Jarrett is his friend and it would be hard to leave him. He said if WWE opportunity came up, he hopes he'd get Jeff's blessing, but he doesn't expect it to happen.
Yeah. Well, so there's a lot to unfold there too. Look, I feel like I spoke the truth. You know what I mean? And whether I should have said that in public on an interview or not is debatable. I definitely understand the argument for not talking like that about the company that's paying you money. I totally get that side of the argument. I just happen to know where my head was at and what was going on in my world. And so it's, things were said that, just like when you get in an argument with somebody, you say things sometimes you don't mean, and you got to go back and go, hey, I'm sorry. I was just trying to be mean there. You know what I mean? Or I don't know, maybe I'm just an a-hole and nobody does that. But that's where we were in our life. You know what I mean? And so we shouldn't have been talking about it was biting the hand that feeds you for sure. And so I totally get that. But we were frustrated. And like I said, everything I said there, it was true. Like it was all true.
What about the part about a beat up car and late on your house payment? Are you in financial trouble here? Or?
Yeah, 15 years ago.
Yeah, 2007.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I can imagine I probably had a beat up car. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
over the years I've had, but I had like a 91 Suburban. You know what I mean? It was like
Right.
that was the car.
You're
and
still
so
pimping.
I loved it. It was huge and had
you're still pimping.
electric everything from a 91. Yeah, it was cool. So I probably was late on a house note or something. You know what I mean? Like I was in between. I was week to week in it. You know what I mean? Try to pay the bills and try to stay high. That don't work.
You said you probably shouldn't have said that. Do you get a talking to from anyone at TNA or even Jeff? I mean,
no,
it doesn't make the company look good, regardless of the fact if you're telling the truth or not.
Well, I mean, the truth of it was like, where did this interview air? Like, who heard it? You know what I mean? Like, did it? I know we found it, and you know what I mean, and read it off, but did it cause a stir for the company? And it did not, apparently, because I don't ever remember getting talked to or anything about that, All
right, let's move along at All Odds in 07. Boy, this is interesting. Christy, this is from the Observer. Christy Hemme beat the fat, oily guy in 229 in a tuxedo street fight.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was wrestling for TNA.
Yeah, you were employed.
The crowd was chanting "F you, Russo," and I edited the F during his match, which was real killer. Hemme had her pants taken off, but she stripped the oily guy down to his thong. Fans were booing this.
He was hot. He was hot. He needed ChilliSleep.
You were gonna say it. The fans were booing this and booed her, although in the long run, she's supposed to be the heel in all this, because the idea is the male audience can't get a girl, certainly not one that looks like her. So therefore, they want to see hot women being degraded, and Kip James represents them. Kip came out and teased he was going to take off his pants, but instead ripped off her shirt and laughed. The idea was to get Kip over as a face and Hemme over as a heel. Russo's original scripting was to have BG run in and put a towel over Hemme, but BG refused, saying if the idea is for VKM to be faces, his putting the towel on her would turn him heel. When he made that point, they switched the script. Is that true? Do you remember
They
that?
flipped the script. Well, no, I don't remember it, to tell you the truth. But when I read it, I thought like, well, of course, you know, if he rips her shirt off, which look, that it's 2007, not 1957. So the fact that he's going to rip her shirt off, that's a heel thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't even in 2007, you didn't do that. So I think the line of thinking between the heels and the baby faces in this particular story were really altered from the get-go. You know what I mean? Like, holy mackerel, he's the baby face and he's gonna rip her shirt off. Like, that's unheard of. But it does sound like Russo. And I just think I think he was throwing stuff at the wall. He threw a lot of stuff at the wall. A lot of things stuck. But sometimes it didn't work. And I think this was one of those times.
At Destination X, Christy promises to bring a team in to go after VKM for all the things Billy has been saying. And well, here we go. VKM beat the Heartbreakers in 9:02. The crowd totally rejected the Heartbreakers, formerly Heartthrobs, as the mystery team of Christy Hemme. The deal is the former Bashams are coming and will be feuding with VKM and be managed by Hemme, but they want to have VKM beat some people here before debuting the Bashams. Crowd hated it with a chant of, I can't even say this.
Don't say it.
Go home, a derogatory term for gay people.
Yeah,
They're chanting that at the Heartbreakers. The match was real bad, both because the Heartbreakers are green and really only have a great ring entrance. So naturally, they didn't do anything resembling it here. And the James gang didn't do anything to work with them either. Kip in particular worked like they were too small and beneath his level, which only served to make a bad match worse. The high spot was Hemme trying to give Kip a low blow, but she started selling her arm. Kip pulled a cup out of his tights and smothered it in Hemme's face. Hemme is the heel in this feud on the guys that guys hate women who complain about guys treating them with no respect. And another high spot was Roselli doing a running flip dive over the top to the floor, which was supposed to have Antonio catch him. Well, Roselli landed short and fell on his tailbone. BG pinned Antonio with a pump handle slam. Hemme threw a hissy fit at both guys, and they walked out on her. What do you remember about this chaos?
Not one thing. But you know what sounds awesome is that match. Like, holy mackerel. I don't remember it, but the way they described it, man, I want to go back and rewatch it, you know?
The official rating was half a star.
Half a star.
Not even one.
Okay. I like my matches like I like my hotel rooms. Like half a star. 1 star, maybe. I want to pay for that son of a gun by the hour.
You got to work for it. You know, we're grinding. We're grinding.
Man, they did not. Look, it probably was horrible. I don't doubt that a bit.
Do you remember a cup at all?
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember the cup. I remember he put it over her face. I remember thinking then, like, holy mackerel, he's the good guy in all this. Like, he's holding her down and holding it over. But you know, I don't know. It was just everything was just bass backwards a little bit. But maybe Vince was trying something. And then look, I can see where he's coming from, but it's confusing too. Like, wait, I don't like girls because I can't get a girl like you. And you know what I mean? Like, even hearing it now, it's confusing. Like, I don't know. Christy Hemme was a beautiful girl. Like, I wanted to see her on TV. And I definitely wanted to see them rip her shirt off or whatever. You know what I mean? If I'm a dude, and I know that's sexist, but so my point is I'm trying to think of what Vince Russo is thinking when he's writing this and putting it together. Like, I guess that's the line of thinking, was like a real male chauvinistic world, but it's not that way, and it shouldn't have been pushed that way then, especially not as a babyface character. You know, I don't know. Just hearing it all back makes me cringe a little bit, to be quite honest.
While we're talking about them, and we brought them up, what do you think of the Heartbreakers? What do you remember about them at that time?
I got to be honest with you. I don't even remember those two individuals. When I read the names, because I thought it was two different people when I started reading the notes, and then I read the names and I was like, oh, I don't have any idea who that is. Was it Do you remember who it was that the actual individuals? And I'm wondering if it was who I'm thinking it was, and they just changed their names.
Let's see, the Heartbreakers. Let's see what we got here. Johnny. Oh no, Johnny Thunder's Heartbreakers. Woo!
Yeah.
Johnny Thunders, Jerry Nolan. Maybe this is a different one.
Yeah, I don't think.
That's a band, I think. The Heartthrobs.
Oh, there you go.
Antonio Thomas and Johnny Heartbreaker.
Antonio Thomas and Johnny Heartbreaker. I remember that we beat you on a
He
paper.
went with Antonio Thomas was Promise Thomas Santel.
Yeah, look, I don't want to spend any more time doing it. I don't remember the guys.
Okay.
I apologize to them both.
We tried to jog it. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I apologize to them both, and I apologize for Billy beating them up, which I am sure he did. And he probably did think if they're not 6'3" and 285 pounds, then they are little and beneath him. You know what I mean? Like that's just a fact that whoever writes for the, has a different agenda and a different philosophy about wrestling and about littler guys being able to compete with the bigger guys. Yeah, well, that's just not the popular consensus. You know what I mean? Like you see Billy Gunn with Orange Cassidy, and nobody in their right mind goes, I think Cassidy's got a chance. You know what I mean? If they do, then I don't know what to tell you, man. I want you to come to my house so I can slap you in the ear.
And like you mentioned, you guys had a hint of being spoiled at this time. You're coming from WWE here.
Oh, look,
now you're working with the guys you've never worked for with and don't even know.
And
major storyline.
See, here's another thing that they didn't think about. Like maybe it was supposed to be. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Maybe that was the character.
Maybe it was supposed to be. They said they were doing it to give us wins. So if that's the story, if that's what they're doing here, then you beat some guys up and beat them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Did we have to have a 5-star match with a team that we were just going to beat and a team that was not going to be used going forward? You know what I mean? Like, I think people don't think of stuff like that, and it may sound arrogant, but if it's about me and Billy being pushed right now, and that's what they said in the notes here in a minute, they're going to talk about that this was, or we talked about it already, maybe giving them some victories to prop them up for when the Bashams get there. And so, sometimes the smarts are so smart they don't see the forest for the trees.
If you want to see better matches than half stars, if you want to see some 5 stars, maybe we suggest IWTV.LIVE.
IWTV.
Independent Wrestling's premier streaming service for live events and video on demand of past events. If you like technical wrestling, you're going to see the likes of Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, Jonathan Gresham. And if you like hard-hitting, strong style, you could see the man Eddie Kingston. And if you're a deathmatch fan, you'll see the likes of Masato Tanaka, among others. For just $10 a month, IWTV.LIVE offers 20-plus events streamed live each month from top independent wrestling. And just this past week, they had 10 live events, Road Dogg.
10. That's $1 a piece. I don't know.
You're live events, guys. That's a good deal.
That's only a week. So for $10, you got your money's worth that week. You get 3 more weeks for free if you think about it.
No better value in wrestling streaming today. Also, as an IWTV.LIVE subscriber, you have immediate access to their extensive library of over 13,000 hours of video on demand content from over 300 independent wrestling promotions from around the world, including Beyond Wrestling, Prestige Wrestling, Absolute Intense Wrestling, and H2O. You can watch IWTV.LIVE anytime, anywhere on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV Stick, including mobile apps for Apple and Android devices. No long-term contracts required. Go to IWTV.LIVE and subscribe today for just how much, Road Dogg?
$10.
Come on now.
Come on.
All right. On an Impact episode, you got the chance to work with LAX, baby.
Oh, yeah. Lax.
BG and Kip James beat Lax via DQ. Christy Hemme came out to yell at VKM, but Hoyt came out and picked her up and carried her to the back. Fans chanted DX rejects.
That rhymes
VKM.
too.
It does.
It sounds pretty good. We should have went with that.
And y'all were supposed to be the faces at this time.
Yeah.
Actually, those chants led to other fans to chant for VKM, so it had that hot Cena-like atmosphere.
Can I stop right there for a second?
I knew you was.
The fact that somebody typed anything in TNA was hot Cena-esque. I'm sorry. It's just not the case. I'm just not the case.
You guys were Cena adjacent, at least.
Well,
you know what I mean?
well,
VKM was Cena adjacent.
we're like Cena's dad adjacent. We're like from his indie role.
Right, yeah. So okay, they say it's a hot Cena-like atmosphere. Quote, a bunch of other Latino Nation guys hit the ring for the DQ.
What?
It seemed like on a constant, consistent basis to have a hard time getting anything to focus in TNA. Was it the fact that it was only a 1 hour TV show really hurting the company? Do you think they had too much talent? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, look, I do think there's such a thing as too much talent. And I think it is, kind of goes along with, okay, are we going to run live events? And if so, how many? And if we're going to do TVs, and you know what I mean? There's a lot to take into consideration when you're coming up with a talent roster and what that, excuse me, what the number of talent's going to be. But yeah, so especially with a 1 hour weekly show, man, you could really do it with a real skeleton crew, to be quite honest with you. And so I don't think it was inconsistency. I think during this time, and I may be incorrect about this, but I think during this time it felt like there was a lot of turmoil in the upper echelon of TNA. So it might have been different ideas getting through and different people doing, you know what I mean? So it might have been maybe not singularly focused creatively from that whole team. And so I'm just saying that because that's what it feels like looking back on it right now. I don't actually remember if this was one of those times where Jeff was out and Dixie's in, or Dixie's in, and Hogan's in, or what, you know what I mean? There was so many different things went on during those first couple of years, the first decade really of TNA's existence.
Well, it's kind of, it's kind of rearing its head now. If you read some of the headlines in wrestling, AEW is kind of fighting this. Some of their guys are now complaining, good talent.
Yeah.
We're not getting enough TV time. So I imagine, and they've got 2 hours and then a Friday show. This is a 1 hour show with as many guys as you've got on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, and I think as far as they go, you could dang sure put a really good show on Friday night if you wanted to, and utilize some of those Wednesday night talents that you might think, because you got a lot of them. And so I just don't think they use theirs wisely. And look, that was just, the inmates can only run the asylum for so long. And that's how I feel about that,
At Lockdown, you're on the pre-show match where you beat Serotonin. For those that don't know, that was the new Ravens Flock.
Oh, I thought that was a new sleep aid we were shielding. My bad. Serotonin.
Promo code Dogg if it is.
Hey, that's melatonin I was thinking of. My bad. This is Mel's sister, Sarah.
They keep you awake, I believe.
Yeah.
Or is that son? Serotonin makes you feel good, I believe. But
yeah, I'm not sure.
Frankie Kazarian as Kaz. Not sure where he got that from. And Johnny Devine as Havoc. Ooh.
Yes.
Hemme claimed her team had yet to arrive, and she went to Raven for help, and that's how you face them. Does this just make the company look bad, or what are you thinking here?
It looks bad because we work those guys. Like, holy mackerel.
Oh, maybe you...
I feel horrible about myself right now.
What do you remember about the new Ravens Flock?
I remember they tried it. I do remember they tried it. And look, I always loved Raven. I really did. And I think just like with me and Billy, we went to the well too often, and it's not the same guys, and it's not on the same TV show. And, so it's just less than. And I hate to say that, but that's just the fact of the matter is that, Raven's Flock was on WCW a lot, you know what I mean? And so they were on there, and then he went to WWE, and he was on there too. And so when he came here, like, it was just, I don't know. It had been done. It had been done. And so I always loved Raven's promos. And I like Scotty too. I just think it like VKM had been done.
No heat with Raven at that point?
No,
or
no,
anytime?
no. So I'll tell a horrible story about myself, but only so that I can tell that I tried to make it right. So he had left Raven, and he had left his hat that he always wore in one of the locker rooms, and like he was gone from the company, and I didn't see him forever. And so one time to pop the boys, and I was in there and inebriated, I peed in Raven's hat, and so he came. Then he came back.
Okay.
Then he came back, and somebody stooged it off, but I wasn't mad about that. I thought he was never coming back. I honestly thought it's not even a rib because he'll never know about it. You know what I mean? I just thought I'll be stupid in front of the boys, and some of them will laugh at me because they're stupid too. And then you know what I mean? So then he came to me and said, "Hey, can I ask you a question? Did you pee in my hat?" And I said, "I did, dude. And I'm sorry. I'll buy you a new hat. I'll do whatever. I didn't think you were coming back." I just explained myself to him, and he said, "Okay, well, thanks. Thanks for being honest." And I said, "Okay, man." And to this day, I will buy him a new hat. He never asked me to, but I just didn't think you would come back. And then it like really hurt my feelings. When he found out, it didn't hurt my feelings. It was like, it just was like, oh man, what a butthole I am, you know?
What kind of hat was it?
It was a nice hat.
Like a ball cap, or was it like a?
No, it was one of his Raven hats that he wore. Yeah, it was probably expensive, and I will still buy him a new hat if he wants one.
We need to do that as bonus content. We need to get him a hat and
Yeah.
present it to him out of
Yes.
nowhere. Are you in?
I'm in. I like the idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's coming out of your pocket. I'm not.
Yeah.
In,
No,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not. Yeah, we're gonna.
I didn't pee in his hat. I mean,
No, you didn't. No, I did. We talked about that.
is that the only hat
Yeah,
you've ever
yeah.
peed in?
No.
The fact that you took a beat, that's my favorite.
Yeah,
You had to think about it.
because it wasn't.
You peed in other things, not a
Yeah,
hat.
no, I've actually peed in other hats, but in other things as well. Yeah, I feel horrible about saying it now. Only reason I say it now is because I want to admit in public that I'm wrong, that I was wrong, and I admitted that to him privately. But it was just a stupid joke that I kind of thought would never come to pass, anything ever come of it. And then there he was coming back, and there was his hat with urine stains in it. So I apologize.
You were hat in hand.
I'm a skank.
Had pee in his.
I'm a skank. That's the true definition of a skank right there.
For people keeping track, you got the win over the new Ravens flock. I'm not sure who's pumped about that.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. And I wonder how horrible the match was. Maybe if I shut up, you'll tell me.
No, they didn't rate that one. They just, that one didn't exist.
Well.
Finally, the Bashams debut an attack on an early May episode of Impact. They're called Doug Basham and the this is going to be hard for me. I got to take a running start. You ready?
Yep.
Damaja.
Damaja. The Damager?
The Damager. Is that it? Is it
I
the
don't know.
Damager?
Maybe.
I like the Damager better.
I like it better than Damaja. That's for damn sure.
Damaja.
Yeah.
That sounds like a prophet. The Damaja.
What
The
was that?
Damager.
That's got to be it, right? The Damaja.
It's got to be. They were in WWE's The Bashams, and that was their names and not trademarked.
Yeah.
Lance, how'd you do that?
I just don't know why one of them would come in as something other
Basham.
than that. You know what I mean? As Damaja.
Hey guys, I've been waiting on this moment.
I want
The
to break out.
Damager makes his debut now. Yeah, but we don't have to change our names. I'm waiting on this moment.
I know we don't. I'm just I'm really sold on Damaja.
Lance Hoyt ended up making the save for you guys. What do you think of the current Lance Archer and how much potential he had back then?
So he did have a ton of potential, and he was a big, good-looking kid that could move across the ring good. He was athletic, and so he also was snug. I remember one time, I forget what building it was in, but he kicked me in the face really hard, and I came back and cussed him out. And then went back and said, "Hey, thank you for not beating me up," because he was a lot bigger and a lot. But I was mad, and I guess I don't know what had happened, but he hit me hard. But that was the only time. Like we really have a great relationship. And I really did go off on him and then go back in a minute and say, "Hey, I'm sorry about that, dude.
Was it an accident or is he just work snug back there?"
I think he just works like that. You know what I mean? And I was at I was, I didn't want to work like that no more.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was not hungry for this anymore. And he was, and that's my fault. You know what I mean? That's my fault for being a crybaby.
Were you,
Really?
were you guys excited to work with the Bashams? They were long known as Jim Cornette guys from OVW.
Yeah, Billy knew them really well, and so yeah, we were excited to work with them. But look, I wasn't excited to work with anybody. You know what I was excited for? When they told me I had the night off. You know what I mean? Like when they told me you don't have to work tonight. That's when I got excited at this point in my career. But yeah, the Bashams were good. They were Cornette guys because they looked the part and they could play the role. And so that's what they came in here to do, you know.
This builds to sacrifice where the Bashams attack you guys on the pre-show.
My sacrifice.
Great jam.
Sorry.
Great jam.
Yeah. Creed, so underrated.
I'm announcing it here. Scott Stapp, Tremonti, y'all need to get back together.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Are you in for a Creed reunion tour?
Oh, I am. I will open up for him.
No
I'll
pill
open
on
up
the
for him.
docket today, just my own self.
I will start shooting heroin again if it'll help me get the gig.
I don't think we got to go that far.
No. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just telling you how far I'm willing to go.
Okay, we're setting boundaries. Okay.
Yeah, parameters as we go forward.
As this builds to sacrifice, where the Bashams attack you guys on the pre-show,
I
you
was
get a
this
tree
close.
slam.
I was this close to singing My Sacrifice again.
Do it again. I want it every
No, I'm not,
time.
because then you said the tree slam or something, and I really
Yeah.
am interested about that because I have no idea what you're talking
Did you
about.
welcome them with arms wide open under the sunlight?
Man,
I'll tree slam you through the table.
Hey, so what is a tree slam?
Buddy, you're the wrestler here.
Hey, your
Come on
guess
now.
is good as mine, boss.
Well, you tree slammed him through a table, which Don West, love us some Don
Oh wait,
West,
they
by the
put
way.
me through a table, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the tree slam through the table with Don West explained, gave you a super severe concussion,
Yes.
which we know is a notch above a severe concussion.
Yes,
Super
it's this
severe.
one's super. It's double S.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a legit medical term, a super severe concussion.
Yeah, SSC. They call them SSCs in the biz.
Let's, for the record, did you get one?
I don't even remember. So,
Okay.
so probably yes.
Yes. All right.
But look, from what I understand, you get one like every time you get your bell rung. And if you've ever worked John Bradshaw, that happens quite frequently. It feels like your head is inside a fire station in California somewhere. Bells
right.
bells will be ringing.
All right, this is all right. So you've got a super severe concussion. That leaves Kip to himself in your now handicap match, and the Bashams get the win. But in the post match, Lance Hoyt arrives after Kip talked about how he wasn't in the building for the save. Why did a lot of TNA stuff make no sense this time?
Has that question been asked already once on this podcast?
Might be doing it a third time.
Yeah. Look, I think there was not creative singular focus, and I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong about that. No, this is the time such and such. But in my mind, I don't remember being there in real time. So I'm looking back now and thinking, to your point, there's a lot of inconsistencies creatively here, and so there it had to have been an interim creative director or I don't know. It just feels like that to me because it is disconjointed.
Is it for the Bashams to get some heat going?
Yeah, of course, to come in and look, to beat one guy and beat him and then claim victory over that's cheap. You know what I mean? That's a heel thing to do. That's a heel move. So yeah, it definitely will get them heat. And they put me through the table and gave me the CCS or the SSC. Excuse me. CCS is invert when you invert them into that. It's got to be your bull, and so. but yeah, they were. This was all to establish them as a team, as a dominant team too, and they're going to use the old DX rejects to do it. You know what I mean? And that makes perfect sense to me, especially from someone who's utilized and brought back, veteran talent to do just that, to literally bring talent back and go, we want you to put younger guys over because you're good and you're old. So we want you to help us out here. You know what I mean? And that's old business there.
Speaking of old guys returning, you returned in the middle of June, and it's an 8-man with VKM teaming with Team 3D to take on the Bashams and the Steiners.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, come on now. Hemme sprays something in Kip's eyes to cost the victory. Do you remember what the end game was here with a 8-man? All of a sudden, 3D and the Steiners are involved in this.
No idea. But it sounds awesome. And I'm being dead serious. Like, that sounds awesome.
Oh, if you on paper, you look at those names and you go,
oh, yeah.
This is a hell of a match.
Then you watch the match and wish you'd have stopped at the paper. You know what I'm saying? Say, hey, I hope this ain't pay-per-view because I ain't doing it.
All right, let's put this in perspective.
Okay.
3 of these 4 teams are some of the biggest tag teams in the history of the business. Steiners, Dudleys, and of course you guys. Like you said, this is a thrill, and it's crazy that this happened in TNA in 07. Yeah. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, look, it is wild, and I would argue, though, that this is past everyone's prime, maybe except the Bashams. You know what I mean? And maybe that was the idea, was to utilize star power to try to get some shine on them or some spotlight on them. And so, I don't know. You promote that match, and I think you get viewers. You know what I mean? And I think that's whether we let them down or not with the half of star match we gave them. Is still, is still to be determined. Excuse me. The ratings were never great. I mean, we had about 1 million a week for a while when it was on Spike, but then they went back down when they lost the Spike deal. And so it was, we all those teams, as big as they were, as monumental as that 8-man sounds like, we were all past our prime. And so, and in TNA. And so, look, I'm not degrading the company because the company paid me, and it just wasn't the WWE. It's not even AEW. You know what I mean? It was the little engine that could, and so it was running on a wing and a prayer from the inception, and so it still was in 2007. It still is today in 2022.
I think you had the right idea there. Of course, that's why you said it. That putting those guys in with you 3 teams immediately gave them instant credibility here.
Yeah. I mean, especially if we make it look like, and I can't imagine we didn't. I can imagine me sucking at wrestling, but I can't imagine we didn't try to make those guys in this match, to make them look like they belonged in there with these other teams, because they dang sure did. They're young and hungry and in great shape and aggressive, and you know what I mean? So they fit in there. It was just up to us then to make them look like they do. And I don't know if we did that or not.
From the Observer in late June.
Oh, God.
Quotes, TNA has expressed interest in bringing back Sean Waltman since all the WSX contracts just expired. The idea is that with VKM just dead due to this Christy Hemme angle that was a flop from minute 1 and just burying everyone involved.
Yeah.
They hoped bringing Waltman back and having them be the original DX, just not with that name, would resurrect BG and Kip. However, the offer for Waltman was less money than BG and Kip were making, so they haven't agreed to terms. What were you told about this? Was this an idea floated by you?
Yeah, they talked about bringing Kid in, and look, from a friendship level, I couldn't have been happier. You know what I mean? Happy as a pig on Percocet. But I did. They could have put him back with us. It still wouldn't have been DX. It still would have been X-Pac, BG James, and Kip James past their prime on a lesser than show. You know what I mean? Like it's not that once you've done it and it is done, it's very hard to do part two. You know what I mean? And follow up and or make it better. You know what I mean? That's just a difficult task. So Sean coming for me personally would have been awesome. And I wish they would have come to, and I think he came and worked a few times on a few different shots, but yeah, it would have just been worse for all three of us. You know what I mean? I really believe that at that point.
Let me ask you this. You don't have to get into specifics, but they're saying that he was offered less money than you guys.
Yeah.
Would you have been talking to Sean, or is he bringing that out of midair? Or did y'all talk money? Say, hey, here's what we're getting. You better get this if you're coming over. You could get this.
Yeah. No. So we
Okay.
look. Everybody kind of does their own deal in the wrestling business, and telling people how much you make and all that is kind of problematic for a lot of reasons. And so you kind of keep it to yourself, but I can't imagine they would offer him less than that within what we were getting, because we were not making a ton of money. But I mean, I guess so. If you read it out of the Observer, it's got to be true. My matches are half a star. They got that part right. So yeah, look, I would have loved, yeah, especially when it comes to me. I would have loved to have Kiddo there. It just didn't work out.
Okay. Lance Hoyt turns heel and joins up with Christy Hemme, and all of a sudden at Victory Road, you have a woman of your own by your side.
Oh,
Nikki Rocks.
Who's
Roxy
that?
Levaux.
Oh yeah, her. Yeah, Roxy. No, she was a sweetheart of a girl too, and now she's into bodybuilding, and she looks great. Not bodybuilding, but like fitness routines and stuff. She's in incredible shape. But she was a real sweetheart of a girl. The only reason we talked about that was to look. You can tell right now at this period of time they are trying as hard as they can with VKM, you know what I mean, or the James gang or whatever. There was 6 iterations and none of them were successful, but it's not because of lack of trying. They're putting girls with us, they're putting other tag teams with us, they're having us argue over chauvinism. You know what I mean? Like they're trying everything they can, and it's just not working. And I'll gladly take some of that heat if some of that belongs to me. If they were horrible creative decisions, at least I could have done is try to perform them to the best of my ability. And I can assure you that I did not do that. I can assure you that I did what I had to do to get by and get back to my hotel and pass out again. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the viewers. I'm sorry that's my one regret is how, could I have been really good at this had I not been a raving lunatic? You know what I mean? And did I rob myself and the viewers of my best? And the answer is yes, I did. But again, that was yesterday. I know that tomorrow I will not do that. You know what I mean? I will give you my best, and I assure you of that. And once I started thinking straight, that my mentality went back to that. But the drugs and alcohol turned me into somebody that I wasn't.
At the time, there was a ban on man-on-woman violence in TNA, so there was no way to get your revenge on Hemme. Not that we advocate men hitting women, but as far as storyline purposes, do you think that had to do with putting Roxy with you? Maybe she can get revenge?
Yeah, for sure. And that's especially if they're going to have, maybe a 6-man in the future of Bashams and Hemme versus us and Roxy or whatever. And I don't even know if we did that. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But again, all of these things are true. You know what I mean? Or in my mind are true. It's like, yeah, they put them with her so you can have, we could be out there when she has a title match or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just trying to throw more stuff at the wall to try to get this thing to work. And it was a fight in futility,
Again, looking back on it, kind of hard to put the pieces together, but this also adding a woman to your group kind of goes against what Billy's been doing this whole storyline.
hence the inconsistency.
Right.
And maybe this is where you use that question for the 3rd time. Is there a reason none of this makes sense?
Right.
Yeah, it just didn't. None of it. You're right. None of it made sense. And that when you read that about like just burying everybody involved. Like, of course, I kind of take that personally on the outside, but as I process it, it's a negative and delivered in a negative way, but they're facts. You know what I mean? It did no favors for anybody involved. And so that's true. You know what I mean? Whether truth hurts sometimes.
VKM gets the win over the Bashams at Victory Road. Were you happy to be moving on from them, or did you still not care?
Bashams, no, I still didn't care. But Bashams must not have made a big imprint. You know what I mean? Like, we beat them on the first pay-per-view. They beat Billy. They beat Billy, by himself, and then we just beat them.
You're the difference.
You are the difference. They call me a difference maker. You know what I mean? That's what they call me.
Who's they?
No. Let's continue, please.
Okay. You begin a feud with the now babyface Steiners when on Impact. VKM comes out and says they were the greatest tag team in wrestling history. Scott Steiner responds by saying, "You were tag team champions when WCW was on an 84-week streak of everyone watching them. Were you excited to be working with the Steiners here?"
Hey, so that, for one thing, that's not true. We were not the tag team champions for 83 weeks. When we became the tag team champions, well, I don't know when we became the tag team champions time-wise, but Wesley or somebody, if they can look this up, we literally became the champions. Then we did the, no, he may be right. I'm sorry. Oh. My bad, Scott. I just thought his math was horrible because of his mathematics promo was so all over the place. But it made me think like he might be right. But so I remember this because we just talked about it a great deal, was when we did the invasion, that week was the week it turned around. That was the 83rd week or the 84th week that was in our favor. And so I think that's how that worked anyway, but like, so I don't know how long we were the tag team champions before that, but I don't appreciate you. I don't appreciate you saying that, Scott. Butthole.
But were you excited to be working with the Steiners?
Oh yeah. Look, so we have a great, myself and the Steiners, Billy and the Steiners, we have a great relationship with those guys. Having said that, they terrorize me. Scott Steiner will come and put his fingers like so far into my clavicle and like, it feels like he's dislocating things. And like, he just comes up and like, just come up and put his fingers in my small ribs, you know what I mean? Your little baby short ribs. And so, yeah, he's just that kind of guy. And then they both get around and you just go, "Oh God, please don't, guys, please don't. I'm going to pee in my pants, guys." But they're so fun. It's so fun to be around. They really are. And they're good dudes too. Scotty was wild when he was young, man. He's different now. And he's a good guy and he's raising good kids. Him and his brother, both, they're great guys.
Why did you've kind of touched on this before? But why did TNA always bring up WWF and WCW? Does that, looking back at it, does that make it look like you? I mean, you were the minor league to them, but
and
doesn't that make you even look more like the minor league?
Of course. And so a lot of the things that I was a part of then in retrospect just make zero sense to me. So it makes me wonder, like, was the creative messed up? I know I was messed up. But what exactly was it? And I don't know what the answer is there, you know?
Well, let me tell you what's not minor league, Brian James.
Okay.
And that's your meat smoking capabilities.
Oh, you know what? Let me take this opportunity to tell you about RecTeq, an amazing company that offers wood pellet grills fueled by all natural hardwood pellets, along with other outdoor lifestyle products such as coolers, apparel, grill accessories, and more. Look, with grills ranging from $399 to $3,000, RecTeq has grills for every lifestyle and every budget, with a key focus on flavor, convenience, and versatility. Their factory direct pricing eliminates the middleman and all grills ship free. Plus, all RecTeq pellet grills are made with high-quality stainless steel and are built to last a lifetime. The RT700 comes with a 40-pound pellet hopper, 702 square inches of cooking space, the PID Wi-Fi controller, and a 6-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. You can bake, smoke, sear, grill, and even dehydrate on the grill, all with the push of a button. And that's why those in the know choose RecTeq. So it's time to toss that tasteless gas grill, messy charcoal grill, or even that overhyped brand name grill aside and join an elite wood pellet grilling family. By focusing on flavor, convenience, and versatility, RecTeq sets the new standard in grilling. Visit RecTeq.com. That's RecTeq.com. Use the code BJames to get 5% off site-wide. That's 5% off their top-notch wood pellet grills, one-of-a-kind RecTeq icer coolers, chef-tested rubs and sauces, accessories, merchandise, everything at 5% off. That's RecTeq.com and use the code BGJames. Excuse me, it's not BG James. And use the code BJames.
All right, at Hard Justice, you're wrestling LAX again. Kip wore pants.
They
That
did.
looked like Candice Michelle should have been wearing them.
I guarantee you I know the ones they are. I bet they're black and see-through. It's like a thong with black sheer for butt shorts.
Well, he ain't scared.
No, he ain't
He ain't
scared. But look,
scared.
if I look like him, I wouldn't be scared either. But if I look like me, so that make you scared. If you saw me in them pants.
You look like a busted can of biscuit. That's what you look.
Hey, I'm so fat that when you said that, I got hungry. I
Throw
thought,
some
dang,
butter
a
on
good
and
butter
let's go.
jellied biscuit.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh Lord.
All right, so we got a hold of his good-looking pants.
Yes.
And you in those pants, you guys turned heel in this match.
We did.
When Roxy throws powder into Hernandez's eyes to stop a border toss, and Kip hits, not the best famouser ever, and gets the pin. Hector Guerrero shows up and tells the ref about the powder and shows it to him, and the ref restarts it, and then Homicide pins Kip with a front rolling cradle. Were you happy to be going back heel?
You know what I hate? A dang front rolling cradle. I don't have a clue what that is. I'm thinking it's like a forward victory roll.
Looks uncomfortable.
Yeah, like a monkey humping a football, and you just roll in a circle. Then
that's like me sleeping in a shirt.
I
wake up like I'm in a front rolling cradle. I'm fighting to get out of here, trying to kick out.
In a front rolling cradle. I still have no idea what that is. Hey, but I loved working with Homicide and Hernandez. Homicide was already a wily vet, and he knew who he was and what he did. And so it was super cool with me to have another guy like that. And then Hernandez was young, but he was going to be a star. If he could have spoke Spanish, which he might speak Spanish better now, but he couldn't speak Spanish really well then. He might could have been a huge international star. And he kind of is. He kind of was anyway, and did that for a minute. But yeah, we loved working with those guys as often as possible.
Do you care that you're turning heel here? Do you like me in a heel?
I also don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, for one thing, it does not matter. It didn't matter to me then. But it also made me wonder, like, did they see the writing on the wall where we're not liked, and this LAX is cool and hip, and they are liked, and so just do something to cheat to try to beat them, and then let them beat you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't hate the creative. I thought it was a cool finish right. with the non-finish restart, and you know what I mean. I'm sure Billy's pants kind of made up for the rest.
Again, you said you love working with LAX here. Do you know why they moved away from keeping the storyline with the Steiners? Do you remember anything about that?
I don't, to be quite honest with you. And I know, Scott and Rick were, I don't know if they were, we worked with them a few times, so I don't know why we moved on so fast, but maybe the idea was never to do that, because look, I know, Scott was not there Rick was not there a whole bunch after that. And Scott was, and then they went into the, not long after that, I guess they went into the militia or the main event mafia or whatever with Scott as a single. So I think anytime they bring back me and Billy or the Steiners or something, I think they're, especially past our prime, I think they're better served not putting us together because you don't get anything. There's no investment into the future at all. And so maybe they realize, hey, we got to keep these guys apart and just utilize them to help other people. I don't know. That would be my line of thinking if I were booking and I had those guys on my talent roster.
There's going to be a Gauntlet Royal Rumble tag match at No
Yes.
Surrender.
Hey, all of that. Gauntlet
mean-
Royal Rumble tag match.
Could you have any more adjectives for one match?
And
That's a lot of adjectives.
we could have ignorance on a pole. Maybe. I don't know.
The GRR tag match, as the kids like to call it.
So the truth be told, I drove through a part of backwoods North Carolina, and I saw a rebel flag flying on somebody's property, and I thought, literally the first thing I thought of, because everything's wrestling, was, oh, ignorance on a pole match, and I thought, like, you get to go up there and tear that down or whatever. Like, I don't know, but that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that, and then I was like, oh man, I wonder if we could do like an ignorance on a pole match, and then it fit right here. This is it.
Well, I don't know when I'm going to get to bring this up again. So you made me think of something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw an interview one time where Kip said that he remembers a car ride with you in South Carolina where you hit a deer. Do you remember anything about that?
I remember that specifically because he was driving.
Yep.
I was kicked back in the passenger seat smoking my last J.
Okay.
Don't do that anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But
Right.
this is back in the dizzy.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, pow! Like the car explodes, and I mean, we hit something spun around the car, and come to find out, it was the deer spun off of the car, and the deer's both hind legs and quarter came into Billy's window. But glass shot over me and him, and he pulled. I don't know how he pulled, because the car, he got to the side of the road. The car would not start or run. It wouldn't do anything anymore.
I hit it hard.
I didn't know it was the deer at the time. I thought it was a car. We hit it doing 85 miles an hour. Billy drives fast. Billy drives a car like he's riding a bull, like he's trying to get there in 8 seconds. You know what I mean? And so he goes fast, and man, we nailed that thing. So I didn't know what we had hit. So we got to the side of the road. I opened the door and just flicked that thing. I was smoking as far as I could, because I thought cops are going to be here soon, and I don't want to be caught smoking a joint. And so then I find out it's a deer. And the deer is way back up the road, but a cop does come and says, yeah, I didn't see no deer. What'd you hit? You know what I mean? Like, kind of got on us a little bit. And we were like, well, the son of a gun's right up there 100 yards if you'll go up there and look. And so we ended up, Billy called Vince McMahon and said, hey, our car, we were driving to a live event. Our car hit a deer. It will not run. I don't know. We're probably going to miss the show. I don't know what to tell you. Vince McMahon said, and we're like on 85 South or something, you know what I mean? In North Carolina, South Carolina.
Where there's nothing.
Yeah. And he says, hey, get a cab. And then, so we go like, oh, okay. I mean, I know he's from New York. There are cabs everywhere and have been for 50 years, but we're in the South and not a big city. We're on a stretch of interstate. Like, where's a cab at? You know what I mean? And the cab then has to drive us 3 hours to the town. So finally, some of the boys pull by. Billy gets in with the Harris brothers. I get in with Flash Funk. Needless to say, it was no longer my last J. and we left. And we left that car sitting right there. And Billy Gunn said,
whose car was it?
It was a rental car. It was a national rental car.
No.
He called them and said, your car's right there. We hit a deer and it won't run, and we got to go. And sure enough, they took care. We got to go, and they took care of it, and everything. We made it to the show, and we wrestled that night, and we were over. We were over huge too.
And more than half a star.
Well, probably not. I mean, I'm just, because, but truth be told, nowadays terminology is a little wonky. Being over has nothing to do with a 5-star match.
Woo! Come on now.
Yeah, no, being over means absolutely having zero to do with wrestling. And if you disagree with me on that, then you're wrong.
Say it louder for those in the back, please.
No, if you disagree, we just disagree, because I look, think about the guys that have been most over. There's only one guy that was both, and that's Shawn Michaels. Like, both a great worker and hugely over. I guess you could say Brett was hugely successful and a good wrestler. So there are a few, but I would say the biggest stars of all wrestling had nothing to do with it. And if it did, Rocky wouldn't be in charge of Hollywood right now. He'd still be working for the WWE.
All right. Meanwhile, he's taking over Hollywood. You guys are about to take over this Gauntlet Royal Rumble.
We're taking over
match,
the Gauntlet Royal Rumble tag team match.
At No Surrender, and part of the build is you and Kip or Billy or whatever defeating the Motor City Machine Guns in a minute.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, we had no business beating those guys because they were really good back then. And I really wanted to work with them then for the sole purpose of putting them over and getting them. I mean, beating them in a minute is obviously not that, but that's what I wanted to do for a personal standpoint, is work with those guys as much as I could and at least let them beat us and let them, I was a huge fan of both the individuals, Sabin and I forget the other guy's name. I just saw him too.
Or Alex Shelley.
I'm sorry.
Weren't they at Ric Flair's last match?
Yes. And look, I worked with them in TNA, always been super good, respectful guys, always loved them. So loved working with them here for sure.
You saw him at Ric Flair's last match. How long previous to that had it been since you seen
him? Probably around this time. You know what I
Wow.
mean? I think I'd seen Chris Sabin at a signing or something. I'd seen one of them. But yeah, first time in a while that I'd seen both of them.
They can go, brother.
Still both in great shape. Still, can go, man. It was them versus the Wolves at that Flair match was a good one, man. It was a good one for me. It was a dream match, an indie dream match for me.
And as good as they are, like we said, you beat them in a minute. And
yeah, hey, that's how good we are.
Right.
You know what I'm
Come
saying?
on now.
Like, Billy may be a chauvinist. He's a badass. You know what I mean? And so, hey, it takes a good man to beat me. It just don't take him long. It takes Billy no time to beat you, especially if you're smaller than him.
Yeah, and he doesn't like it. And that's everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's. Kip challenges now any team to come out and LAX.
Wait, did we win the thing?
Yeah, in a minute.
Oh, we beat them. So this is the Gauntlet Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Got it.
So now you challenge any team to come out. LAX, Triple X, and Eric Young and Shark Boy come out. And it's a big brawl, eating up the machine guns in a minute. Don't you wish you could have more time? We talked about it, but do you remember anything about, Shark Boy, one of your favorites?
I love Shark Boy, and that's a true story there. I always have, and I always will. He is a great guy. But no, I don't remember. I don't remember this storyline. That's why I was asking you. Oh, we beat them. So now it sounds like a real cluster going on. Continue walking me through this.
Well, we're just moving on. We don't even have notes for that. It happened.
Did we win? Who won?
Somebody, our awesome research team's going to have to look up that. Somebody tweet us. Tell us who won.
No, you know what? Never mind.
Like
don't.
Won.
We won.
Yeah,
I'm saying that right now, and don't do the research.
If you beat the Motor City Machine Guns in a minute, y'all better win.
We should win. And look, I want you to go with your feelings on this, not the facts. It feels like we should have won.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it
does.
It
feels like we should have won, and so let's just run with that. You know what I mean?
At No Surrender, Tomko and AJ Styles win the match.
Yeah. Hey, this is good as me and my dad, right?
Is this TNA overbooking, or is this something fun? What do you remember?
What are you talking about? Maybe I stepped on you and I messed you up, and I apologize. What did you say again?
At No Surrender, part of the build is you beat the Motor City Madmen on the build up to that.
The Ted Nugent
Royal Rumble, Tomko and AJ Styles wins the Gauntlet.
Oh, they won the Gauntlet deal.
Yeah.
So they won.
But I didn't want to hurt your feelings. You said go with your feelings.
Yeah. Well, you heard them. So screw me.
They defeated 10 other teams.
Yeah. Well, me being half of one of them. I appreciate you bringing it up. Basically, I just come on here and the Meltzer just buries me for an hour and a half.
If it ain't Meltzer, it's me. That's it.
I like you. I don't mind you burying me. God darn it. If you say it, it's probably true. I don't. like he's judging with on a slant here. He's judging me with a bias, a obvious bias.
Right.
And
You
so stick your stars where the sun don't shine.
you've talked about it many times, how much you appreciate and respect AJ Styles.
Yes.
Talk about Tomko and AJ Styles together.
Look, Tomko was a hell of a worker, man, and was a big, scary dude. I know he's had some troubles in the past. I don't know how he's doing now, but I hope he's doing well because he was for a moment in time on the recovery train with me. So I appreciated that. I liked Tomko a lot, and he was like I said, a big, menacing, good athlete. And so the thought of working with him and AJ just was a dream. You know what I mean? Like I know I can put the big scary guy over, and I know AJ will work with me and make me look great. So, yeah. So it was great. It was great work. Yeah, they were a fun pairing. AJ is just so great. You know what I mean? AJ has been great for 20 years now.
He adapts to whatever or whoever
To
you
whatever,
put him with,
and
whatever
he
it is.
works every match like it's his last. He leaves everything out there in every match. And the man he goes hard. And think about how long he's been doing that. Springboards off the top ropes, dives to the outside. Holy mackerel, man.
Incredible.
His body's got to be, it's got to be taking a toll on him. But I still love it.
As we run through 2007 for BG James's career, we're now at the end of September.
Oh,
You and Kip go in the ring and cut this RussoRiffic promo.
RussoRiffic. I love it.
You're now heels, and quote, this interview was a shoot.
Oh, it was shoot.
BG
I don't know
said
what I said.
Yeah, BG said the other tag teams on the roster think doing flips is wrestling. And BG said they're so small, he takes bigger dumps than the wrestlers there. You called the fans smart marks and said half the people in the office are as well. You didn't build up any kind of match, feud, nothing. You just ripped a promo.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you got to do. Look, it was in creative's defense, and I hope this is true because I pray it is. It was just an idea that, hey, let's get them out there and make sure they're heels. You know what I mean? Let's make sure people do not like them. So go out there and cut a heel promo. You know what I mean? I don't know what was going on then in day to day, but I can imagine that being just an establishing promo where it's not meant to tell a story about one team. It's meant to tell a story about one team going after all the teams. You know what I mean?
Do you remember this being all Russo? Or did you have any shoot feelings at the time?
He did not write it, if that's what we're talking about here. He wrote one promo for me in my whole life, and I balled it up and threw it back at him. And and that happened once, and literally it made our relationship better. And to this day, we have a great one. But so, yeah, I know for a fact he didn't script it. I know we probably talked about what, you know what I mean? Like, hey, and I told him, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure we went over it about what the content was, just not verbatim, you know?
Right. At this time, finally, Impact moves to 2 hours. How badly did TNA need this at this time? Were you guys excited about it?
Yeah, I think everybody was. And the reason being is, we talked about it earlier. It's an hour show, man. And to get people over, you have to have those people on the show every week, if not every other, at least, you know? And so 2 hours, it just gives you double the exposure. You have all these, I mean, we talked about the people they had at this point, the Lance Archers of the world, the Steiners, the Dudleys, the Bashams, Raven and his flock. And so they have a ton of talent and not enough time to utilize them all. And I think, going to 2 hours was going to give them at least twice the time to do that. Now, whether it would be consistent or make sense is yet to be determined. But it will give them double the time for talent distribution, for lack of a better term.
Well, now that we've expanded to 2 hours, more talent's coming in. The very first show features your boy Ron Killings and talk about a blast from the past, Pacman Jones.
Oh, Pacman.
Incredible NFL player.
Yes.
Very outspoken, such a character.
Yeah.
And they pair up and defeat Team 3D via DQ to keep the tag titles. What did you think of TNA putting Pacman Jones in the ring? Do you have any Pacman Jones memories from this time?
I don't. I remember him being a good guy and being, look, it's very important when a guy comes in from outside that that individual is respectful and uh admires what we do at least, and you know what I mean, and he was like that. He recognized that what we do is not easy and he wanted to be decent at it, and so he worked at it. And look, I don't know, I think it's always cross promotion. Look, me and Gear Jamming oh, what was his name? Jeff Hammond. Gear Jamming Jeff Hammond won a match too, where he literally ran around the person in a circle to the left and then dropped the elbow on him. And that was a
NASCAR driver.
Yes, the NASCAR driver. And so you do cross promotion stuff like that. Pacman Jones was hot at the time, like you said. NFL was hot. He was too.
Yeah.
Very outspoken and so controversial character. And so yeah, I thought it was a good, I think Bad Bunny was at Mania, so you know what I mean.
Killed it.
Yeah,
Killed it.
so you can only imagine this was just again those crossbreed promotions,
Let me ask you this about the wrestling business as a whole, and maybe there's not a one way or the other, but what's your thoughts on putting a celebrity with a guy? Does that mean the company trusts you? Or
Man.
is it
Oh,
just
oh,
who do
yeah.
we think
No,
it'll pair up with best?
no, 100%. They
Yeah.
put him with a person that they hope to find a person that he pairs up with that they can trust also, and that they can trust Ron Killings for sure. Ron Killings is going to do what he needs to do for the company and the individual that he's teaming with. They knew I was going to do that with Jeff Hammond. They knew, Miz was going to do that with Jake Paul or whatever. So you can, yeah, it's definitely a sign of we trust you. Take care of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they did. We did.
It had to be great working. You've mentioned it many times, and we'll never get enough of it. Let's put him over as many times as we can. Had to be good working with Ron again.
Yes,
At this point in time.
Yeah, it was. Look, it was Ron. I just saw him the other night out on the West Coast when I went out there, and seeing Ronnie is like I haven't seen him in a while, and seeing him is like we've never had a minute apart, and it's magic. Our friendship has always been that way, and I pray it never changes because yeah, what a great guy who has the Midas touch, man. Everything he touches turns to gold.
Shout out to we'll get sidetracked in just a second, but shout out to Ryan Satin on his out of character interviews he does. I
Yeah.
saw him a few months ago talk to Ron, and Ron said that he always from the get go felt like you guys were family. Your whole family bonded with you so
Yeah.
fast. But I thought it was very interesting. He said he thought you saw something in him from the jump that maybe not a lot of other people did. What did you see from him right out of the gate?
Well, so entertainment factor. Like
Yeah.
I'm seeing a bunch of dudes that can come out there and do hip tosses, and nobody's developing an emotional connection with the crowd, and that's what Ronnie Killings had in droves. He had it and didn't know he had it. He had so much of it, didn't know what to do with it. And man, I saw it from the get go. This kid is talent. You know what I mean? And selfishly, Billy had just got out when I first met Ron, and I saw him rap and wrestle in Memphis for Jerry Lawler, and I had just gone down there because my wife worked at the other casino or something. So we went down there to watch the show, and I saw Ron Killings, and Bruce Pritchard was there at the time, and I said, Billy was going to be out for 9 months. And I said, there's my partner right there. That dude is, you know what I mean? Like it was just holy mackerel. Selfishly, I thought like he's a young, hungry kid. He can take the heat. Maybe I get the hot tag. And it turns out he's a lot better than me. And so we had to turn that around, which I am not ashamed to admit at all because Ron Killings is a stud. Ron Killings has got hops, calves like a dead gum. I don't know what, man. He's just built like a speedster. I would have loved to see him play football, man.
So he wasn't on WWE radar at all until you saw him that night and told Bruce. Is
Correct.
that correct?
Wow. I don't know. No, I don't know if that's correct. That's what happened from my side.
From your
I
view.
I was not aware of him at all. He was in Memphis. And that was at the time kind of a developmental. Flex Kavana, The Rock went through there. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people went through there. So they could have been looking at him already. And then I said that they went, oh, Let's just start him that
Fast
way.
tracked it.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I don't know how that exactly happened. I just knew I wanted it and I got it. And I wish I would have done better with it once I had it.
Let's go back to 2007. VKM interferes for the DQ and attacks Killings in the Pacman Jones pairing. Pacman runs you off with a chair.
Whoa.
Did you think you would get in the ring with him, or are you just?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought at some point we're going to end up locking up, you know what I mean? And I look, I had worked with people, like I mentioned before, that don't know what they're doing. I had worked on the independent circuit, which 99.8% of the people don't know what they're doing. So you kind of have done it before. It's not a big deal. You know what young people who are green or have not had a lot of experience, you know what their limitations are, and you go, yeah, we're not doing that. Like, we're not doing the thing where you jump off the top rope and do something to me on the floor. You've been wrestling for a minute. You know what I mean? We're not doing that. So it's know your limitations and work within them, you know?
All right, let's go back to the Observer, because now there is drama.
Because we spoke positively about me for a second.
Yeah.
Let's please go back to the Observer.
It's a balancing game here.
Yeah,
It's a balancing
I
game.
get it.
From the Observer, behind the scenes, the conflict between Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett, basically for Dixie Carter's ear affections, or whatever you call it, grew significantly over the past week. There was a big company party thrown by Spike TV on 9/24. After the first 2-hour taping, with everyone drinking champagne and celebrating, Pacman Jones had $501 bills and was making it rain money, which nobody said anything about, because who needs to be in the line of fire? But it showed that any idea he's learned anything or has changed is out the window. That refers, by the way, to Pacman being a controversial character.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
the
he
NFL.
had not changed. He had stayed the same character. And look, that's what he was great on the field, and we see that a lot. People that are great at what they do, but their personal lives kind of squelch that a little bit. And look, I'm sure he has plenty of money. I don't know who manages it for him, but his controversy kind of hurt him in his career, I think. But I think
That's also why you brought him in at this time.
100%. 100%.
He's being
So,
exactly who you wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Let's please utilize that. You know what I mean? And that's smart business strategy. You know what I mean?
The Observer says the main thing was behind the scenes. Jarrett allies, most notably BG James, were talking to various wrestlers, pretty much wanting them to choose sides. A few people have mentioned feeling there is a pressure to pick sides, and in doing so, you have a 50% chance of screwing yourself. A few people have their loyalties to Jarrett, like BG, Jeremy Borash, Abyss, Dutch Mantel, and others. The rest want to pick the side they think wins at the end. It's described as the Angle family and Russo against Jarrett and Dutch Mantel, both when it comes to booking, but also long-term power. Real quickly, do you remember this?
Yes, 100%. This is one thing that I do remember. And it also confirms what I've been saying, that creatively they were in turmoil, and there were a lot of teams vying for position to get that spot. And so that's what you talked about, the long-term power struggle. Like, it had been going on for a minute already. And so that's why you see some of these inconsistencies. I'm pretty sure now with all this booking and stuff, is people, you know, you plan something out and then somebody changes the finish. What you planned out ain't the same no more. It don't work no more. And you go like, oh, well, that's what they told us to do. You know what I mean? And so, you know, look, I think there's also true what you said. Like, it was definitely from underneath, guys were definitely confused and scared and not knowing what to do. And it shouldn't have gone on publicly like that, but it kind of did. And I don't think that's anybody's fault. I just think we were all on a little bitty team, and some team members were going at it. And so we knew about it. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, but that's also the nature of the business and the nature of the beast is, if you're not firmly in your spot, somebody might take it. You know what I mean? And that's been here and ain't going nowhere. And you got politics, like you mentioned. There are definitely politics involved.
Back to the Observer, Kurt made no bones over the fact that he wants to be running the company with Dixie, which puts him in the direct conflict with Jarrett, who is a minority owner and has steered the ship from day one. The end result here is hard to predict, according to the Observer, because there is no way Kurt is going to be either removed from the company for any reason, nor removed from the top, which is normally the goal in a conflict like this. There are also conflicts between the sides
Yeah.
and different opinions over who to push. Angle himself wants to go with younger talent, and Jarrett has always had the mentality that experience and knowledge in working and not flying moves is what counts, and the veterans are the ones with that experience. Plus, he thinks that people who have had years of national television have the star power because the young guys don't move the ratings.
Yeah.
But the flip side is that people who aren't pushed never move the ratings. So it's a self fulfilling prophecy. Real quick,
Yeah.
did maybe two parts? Did Jeff think that? Was Jeff always siding with the veterans?
So it's not obvious like that. I think this is inside baseball stuff that they're talking about, like that was not the layperson wasn't privy to.
Mhm.
I'm sure there were arguments about who to push and Jeff had been there and Kurt got brought in and there was a lot of emotions at that time. And so it was a crazy time, but look, I can see that all makes perfect sense to me. Dixie probably brought Kurt in too, and I don't know any of this. I'm just speculating, but that's what we do, right? Is we
Yeah.
just talk about things like I feel like this might be true. Like Dixie wanted to push Jeff out because Jeff was, you know what I mean? He had everybody's trust. And so he had some people that that trusted him and that were on his side. And look, I've always been on his side. I tried to be on both sides. And that proved to be very difficult at the time, but I think two things can be true at once. You know what I mean? I think they're both right in what that discussion was. You have to have some veterans that steer the ship, and you got to have some young guys to push toward the future. And so I think it's, it was just so many emotions involved that whatever the other one said, look, you mentioned it earlier, it's politics. It almost felt like then what our country feels like right now.
To put it in perspective, we'll go back to the Observer. The Observer says TNA has pushed Joe. I'm assuming that's Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, he says, but they have pushed Joe, maybe not as smart as they should have, and he's never been given the run as the top guy, but he is a top guy, and Joe is fresh, a good talker, great worker, and really never proved to be a ratings mover. Of course, neither have Sting or Angle after their first few appearances. You touched on that. Hey, they
Yep.
never got ratings, no matter who was doing what.
Yep.
But it says Jarrett has been behind Junior Fatu and Team 3D because they have had the years of TV being in the first 2-hour show main events. However, Jarrett sees the X Division guys as undercard filler, but Russo has the mentality of all the run-in finishes, even though Angle, his ally, likes cleaner finishes. A lot to digest there.
Yeah.
First of all, remember 07. What are your thoughts here on Joe being a top guy at that point? He had to be a fresh shot in the arm.
Yeah, he was, but he wasn't a top guy. That's what I get frustrated about is the language, and I talked about this earlier. It's got misconstrued over the years. Joe wasn't a top guy in 207, and if you think he was, then I don't know what you're thinking about. Like you're playing small ball. But Joe's a top guy now for sure, and has been. I'd say for the better part of a decade. Like but he was just coming on the scene. Like, oh, well, he's been in Ring of Honor forever. Nobody watched Ring of Honor. Like it went out of business. Like, no, they didn't do good business. And so to say that, like, I don't know. I just feel like it's not fair. People, just because they're on TV and they win a match doesn't make them over. There's a difference between being over and being popular. And I think today's fans and wrestlers need to realize that. So top guy, is Joe a top guy? Heck yes. Was he in 2007? I don't think so. I think he got there because of this, because of his work with Angle, and maybe it was Angle's idea. But like, I think what we're talking about here is a bunch of different people vying for power positions and it not going smoothly. Imagine that. You know what I mean?
It's kind of how that always happens.
Yeah,
People are vying for power.
Never goes smoothly. and people's feelings are always hurt. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't get what they want, but some people do. That's just, man, that's the way of the business, it's the way of the world.
I know this wasn't your gig, this was Jarrett's gig, but what do you think about the sentence? Jarrett saw the X Division guys as undercard filler. Did you ever hear that? Did you ever feel like that?
Yes, I felt that way. I mean, I did. You're going to have Sting on the card, or you're going to have, X Division Joe, and I don't know who's not Joe, of course, but I don't know who to say there. But like some young up and comer who can really wrestle good, or this guy who's had a distinguished career and Sting or the Steiners, or you know what I mean? Like you're not going to put the X Division on the main event when you got those guys, and I don't know that you're going to put them on the main event anyway. And if you do, you see what happens. Ring of Honor happens. You know what I mean? And I liked Ring of Honor. They had great wrestlers and great wrestling, but that's not a winning formula. You know, you need more than that, and they didn't have that.
All right, BG, we know that Kurt Jeff conflict is going on. It's going to grow into something much bigger, but we do know, like you mentioned, Jeff, you said that part was correct. They were lining up allies this whole time.
Yeah, for sure. And look, that's what you do. Look, that's what they do in the Senate. They wrangle the votes, right? Yeah. You get everybody on your side. It's exactly how it works. Politics is politics. So it's exactly how it works in the business too.
In late October, you and Kip team with AJ and Tomko to take on LAX and Steiners. Shelly Martinez debuts to help LAX give them the victory when Homicide hit you with a slapjack for the pin.
Oh, he did.
What do you know about a slapjack?
I tell you what, Jack, it slaps.
Is that better or harder than a front rolling cradle?
It's the same. It's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
You've hit on it. You loved working with Homicide and Hernandez.
Yeah, very cool.
Homicide had a reputation of not being happy when he didn't get his way, and Hernandez for being careless. Do you agree with that assessment?
I don't agree with either one of those. And look, I don't know. I never went and told them. Well, no, I did when I was a producer, and they never had a problem with any of the finishes we suggested or any of the matches we did. So I don't agree with that. I do see where the thinking is to say that Hernandez was reckless. Is that what the word you used? I don't want to use a word that wasn't used.
Hernandez was careless.
Careless. And so I disagree with that. I think he was young and very strong. And so those are, for an old dude, that's not a good combination, because you're going to get hit hard and land hard. But I think that's probably where that came from, was he was green and he was strong as a bull. You know what I mean? So sometimes if he got overexcited, you got beat up. You know what I mean? So I could see where maybe somebody would say that, but I don't think they'd say it to his face.
No.
They'll type that son of a gun on a half-star typewriter, won't they?
There were interrogation skits with Kurt Angle that take place in early November on Impact. He's trying to investigate which former WWF or WCW star would be Sting's tag team partner.
Ooh.
Here's one from the Observer. The interrogation skits in a dark room with a bright light and Angle smoking a cigar because the police officers on TV smoke took place throughout the show. Next was Kip and BG James. Angle yelled at Kip for being Mr. Ass and doing the gay wedding. And at this point, it was way past overkill and referencing WWE television, says the Observer. They've had a hard enough time overcoming the idea they're minor league without acting like all the real famous angles are old WWF and WWE stuff. BG then started interrogating Kurt and asked him about his relationship with his father. Angle started the absolutely worst fake crying in history, saying that his father never told him he loved him. The interrogation started out good, but this was beyond bad.
I know. I disagree. It sounds funny. It sounds funny and entertaining. So you could take your half star and I don't know, and do something.
Smoke it in a cigar.
Smoke it. Take your half star, smoke it in a cigar.
Boom.
Yep.
Yes. Who's doing these? Who's in charge of these vignettes back then? Who's doing all these interrogations? Do you remember?
I do not remember, to be quite honest with you. It was probably me. It wasn't me, but I probably did have like some creative input because it feels like me. That feels like me, and it feels funny. So I don't know what to tell you.
We've kind of touched on it, but I guess you agree that again, this is TNA again, basing storylines on other companies. I think you've touched
Yeah.
on it, but
We're
is this
just
kind of
focused on,
hoping you get pulling everybody?
yeah, yeah. I mean, man, it sure seems uh drastic. Like it
Yeah.
sure seems I want to think of a better
Overkill.
word. Yeah, it's just, man, it's just chaos. And yeah, it just feels cheap and like they're trying to get attention anyway. Like they're desperate. That's the word I was looking for. It feels desperate.
All right, let's knock out the end of 07 here at Genesis. You and Billy aren't even wrestling, but managing Roxy in a 4-way knockouts title match.
See there?
Are you happy to be in TNA at this point?
Yes, because I wasn't wrestling. I just had to stand out there, watch her wrestle. And I was still making the same money. So yeah,
Same check,
like
less work.
I didn't
That's a
have
good
very,
promo.
I had priorities. They just weren't any of them right or in the right order.
So same thing. You're not. Do you remember late in the 07 or no money problems at this point? You're still the same.
I mean, still the same. Look,
Happiness wise, everything.
Yeah.
All right. When has the conversation started about breaking you and Billy up?
Well, I mean, look, I think it probably already had started, to tell you the truth. And the reason being is they're not talking about us in a story. We're not moving toward a story with anybody. We're out there with her. And so I think the conversations behind our back, and not behind our back, that's how they do it. They go into a room and come up with creative. And so the conversation was probably, look, they're going nowhere. And what are we going to do with them? And look, Kurt Angle could have been saying that about me the whole time, and he would have been right. We were there in my mind to enhance the younger up and coming talent. And that may not have been my mindset at the time. I may have been, less than humble and thinking more of myself than I actually was worth at the time. But I in my mind now, I was only working there to put younger guys over.
Let's put some context to that question. At Turning Point, there's an infamous feast or fired battle royal with 4 briefcases.
Yep.
One briefcase has an X division shot, one has a tag title shot, one a TNA title shot, and one with a pink slip. Do you remember this gimmick? What did you think of it going in? Anything?
I thought it was cool, but I didn't know if I was getting fired or not. That's the one thing I remember.
It's cool
for real.
if you don't get
like,
the pink slip.
Hey, I ain't getting fired, am I? Y'all could just fire me. Damn, you ain't got to beat me first and then fire me too.
That's like going, hey, don't fire me after Friday. Fire me after Friday morning. Let me have a long weekend at least.
At least give me the 3 days.
Don't make me wrestle one more time.
Yeah.
All right. You and Kip are in there with Christopher Daniels, Sanjay Dutt, Lance Hoyt, Jimmy Rave, Petey Williams, Shark Boy, Chris Harris, Homicide, Hernandez, and Scott Steiner. Well, that's a roster right there.
That is a roster right there.
I
wish I wasn't in there right now.
You do the fake knee injury gimmick to distract the referees. Kip throws his briefcase to you, and you show you were working it, and now you guys have a briefcase.
Oh.
So the plan should be for you and Kip to get the title shot, right?
Yeah. That should be the plan. Yeah.
Well,
Of course it is.
On December 13th, Impact, you lose the 4-way, which included Scott Steiner, Christopher Daniels, Petey Williams, and Steiner pins Williams. You open your briefcase to reveal a tag title shot, and you began teasing that you weren't sure you were going to pick Kip, and then you cut a promo on Roxy that she's nuts, and that's why your career was going nowhere. At this point, were you ready to break up with Kip?
I still blame it on Roxy. My whole downfall. No. I mean, look, again, I didn't care creatively. I probably didn't want to be away from Billy just because it's comfortable. So I can see me thinking that way. But I'm sure they were trying to get us apart now to see what they could salvage. And look, I don't feel bad saying that. Like old battleships, they kind of reuse them sometimes too, I don't know.
So
call me crazy.
No heat here with you and Kip, of course. No heat with you and Roxy. This was just the storyline they pitched, and you ran with it. Again,
and I went with it, man. Everything they said do, I say, hey, whatever, I'll do it. Except for the one time they wanted me to cover up Christy Hemme.
Well, look, when we talked about this topic going in, you said you weren't going to remember much, but I feel like you had a pretty good grasp on this.
I remembered a lot more than I thought I would. Again, a lot of it is me looking back retrospectively and trying to figure out what was going on, because I was in a drug-addled fog during that time. But I think I did remember more than I thought I was going to, because I definitely, a lot of that rang a bell, and not the SSC kind of ring of a bell, but the
super severe.
It reminded me. It reminded me.
Well, buddy, what a year. 2007 it was for Dogg.
2007. You know what? I've never been so happy to see 2008.
If you could change one thing about your home, what would it be? A new kitchen, a new master bath, maybe put in a pool? What if you could do it with no money out of pocket and cheaper monthly payments? SaveWithConrad.com can help, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. SaveWithConrad.com.
All right, before we get out of this episode, though, let's get to some fan questions.
Okay.
Bobby, KF5GTX, AFS top guy, baby. Bobby says, Road Dogg, it was a pleasure meeting you at Top Guy Weekend in Chicago. And then he says, which TNA talent do you wish you could have had a match with?
I think I worked with everybody I would have liked to work with. Like, I worked with Petey Williams. I worked with Team Canada, like talking to you. Like, I went with, when I saw that question and I thought hard about it, and I think I worked with them all. You know what I mean? There was nobody there at that time. I guess maybe I didn't get to work with Joe as much as I would like to. I would have liked to got to work with Joe a bunch, because I loved his speed. I feel like he was slow and plodding and methodical, but he could also explode. And so I felt like his pace would have been good to have a good match with.
You did get to work with him, just not as much as you
Just not as much as I would like. We probably worked on a tag match or something. You know what I mean? I've worked with him a couple times, but just not as much as I would like to.
Austin Williams, he tweets us at You Didn't Know Pod. Thoughts on AJ Styles and Tomko as a tag team in 07? Was it fun to work with them? We kind of touched on it, but anything else?
We did. No, we did.
Great
and look,
team.
A great team. And what I'll never can say thanks enough for those guys is my father, who was probably 65 or 70 years old at this time, wrestled on a pay-per-view with me against Tomko and AJ, and they took care of my father, and that's all I was really worried about in that time. And they really did it. And so, yeah, great guys. And thanks, because I'll never forget coming out with a battle color ceremony, or a color guard, a color guard with my father. We were dressed in camis, and it was a really cool moment for me personally. And Tomko and AJ allowed that to happen for me. So thank you guys.
CL Craft, he tweets us at Brian RD James, at the Casio Kid, at You Didn't Know Pod. He says, I've got to ask, what made you cut those beautiful dreadlocks?
Well, I think it just got, it gets difficult, those weren't, about half of that was my real hair. So I would have to go all the time and get it rebraided, and it hurts. And it's so many negatives that I thought, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. And that was that.
Jason Bayless says, is there any truth to the rumor that you and Billy were actively trying to leave TNA and go back to WWE during the Voodoo Kin Mafia storyline? Or was that all just storyline? You kind of touched on that as well.
Yeah.
You would have.
We would have gladly, either one of us, but we were contracted, and no, we were not talking to them, because we were on paper with TNA.
Johnny Seven wants to know, says, I loved your entire TNA run, but thought you deserved more main event spots. Did you enjoy your feud with Kip James, or were you disappointed in it? Also, were you interested in being TNA champion at this point in your career? Hashtag Thug Dog.
Hashtag hell no. But look, I did love the matches with Kip and the stories with I call it Kip. I hate that.
Billy.
With Billy, yeah. And look, because nobody wanted to see the match because it's the Outlaws. Nobody wants to see the Outlaws fight. Nobody wants to see brothers fight. Nobody wants, but we did get in there and beat the crap out of each other. Well, he beat the crap out of me more so, but it was really fun to do. And and I beat him every time. So
What do you think your singles record is against Billy?
I'd
You
say,
think it's winning?
yeah. Oh, definitely. He's never beat me.
Really?
Billy has never beat me.
Are you Goldberg against
I'm
Billy?
Goldberg. No, he beat Real Double J. He ain't never beat Road Dogg.
Oh,
I'll say that. I'll say that.
Come on now.
Some,
Yambag Jones.
oh, yam bag.
He says, other than no turds and gym bags, what was the biggest difference you noticed in a 2007 wrestling locker room compared to a 1997 locker room?
Well, I don't know. I just told a story about peeing in Raven's hat, so it was similar. Very similar.
We moved on from turds and bags to pee in hat.
We just pee in them now. We don't poop in them anymore. What the crap? I'm sorry I told that story now.
Not much.
No, nothing's changed. And truth be told, nothing changed with me. You know what I mean? Obviously, as I told that story, but there were some younger guys that I didn't know, but everything was still the same. Everybody went and partied afterwards, and the rest is all downhill.
Well, buddy, it's not downhill for us. We are rocking and rolling, my friend.
We are rocking.
Another one in the books. I know you're very busy, so thank you for sitting down with us, answering all these questions about your 07 TNA time.
Yeah, and it just makes me, I'm probably going to go home and just cry myself to sleep. You know what I mean? About how horrible my performances were and my career had really, I'm sorry. I don't know if I can do this anymore because Meltzer has you've hurt my heart, Dave.
He'll give your crying session a half star too. You don't even cry good.
Was the worst crier in the history of.
You even cry ugly.
Hey, right. Casio, thank you, man. And thanks the team to Wesley and Dom and Steve Kaufman. Thank you guys so much for all you do. We're going to try to do this again. We should get together and do this again.
I like it. Interact with us. Follow us on all the social media. He's at Brian R.D. James. I'm at the Casio Kid. Amen. At You Didn't Know Pod.
Oh, sorry. That was premature story of my life.
We've got another one of the books. We hope you like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know about this episode and more. And we appreciate you consuming the podcast. And
they said one guy had the name The Pod Pound.
The Pod Pound.
Yeah, that's that.
What do you think about that?
I liked it. I liked it from the get-go. 2 Ds, double Ds.
P-O-D-D?
Yeah.
I like that.
Let's think about it.
We've been called worse than the Pod Pound.
Oh, I called them Skanks earlier. Heck, Pod Pound sounds awesome compared to that.
I want a skank top. It's a tank top with the word Skanks on it. I want a skank top.
Hey, it's a tank top, just stinks real bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, Skanks for joining us this week. We will see you again next week. Thanks for watching, listening, consuming.
Oh, I thought. Wow, almost blew my speakers out. Tune in next week on Oh You Didn't Know or Not.
Are we still doing? Are we recording? I don't know what's happening.